dental free for life to serve distribution.
The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, please be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter at your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Capetown Ballava Girivaradhari Capetown Ballava Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jai Vishvat Paramahangsa Pariprajacharya Status Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Granta Raj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. Shri Shri Nitai Mayapur Chandra Ki. Sankirtan Yagya Ki. Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 21, conversation between Manu and Kardama. Verse 17. Yes. Shall I just read the Sanskrit, I guess? Lokams cha lokanu gatan pashams cha hitvashritas te charanata patram parasparam twad gunavada sidhu piyusha niryapita deha dharma. Let's do the word for word. Lokan, worldly activity, or sorry, worldly affairs. Cha, and Loka Anugatan, the followers of worldly affairs. Pashun, beastly. Cha, and Hitva, having given up. Shrita, taken shelter. Te, your. Charana, of lotus feet. Atapatra, the umbrella. Parasparam, with one another. Tvat, your. Guna, of qualities. Vada, by discussion. Sidho, intoxicating. Piyusha, by the nectar. Niryapita, extinguished. Dehadharma, the primary necessities of the body. Translation. And this thing doesn't work, eh? Guess it doesn't work, so what to do? That's all right. Translation. However, persons who have given up stereotyped worldly affairs and the beastly followers of these affairs, and who have taken shelter of the umbrella of your lotus feet by drinking the intoxicating nectar of your qualities and activities in discussions with one another, can be freed from the primary necessities of the material body. That's really important. Following on from yesterday's verse and purport, that's really deep. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. After describing the necessity of married life, Kardama Muni asserts that marriage and other social affairs are stereotyped regulations for persons who are addicted to material sense enjoyment. The principles of animal life, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, are actually necessities of the body. But those who engage in transcendental Krishna consciousness, giving up all the stereotyped activities of this material world, are freed from social conventions. Conditioned souls are under the spell of material energy or eternal time, past, present, and future. But as soon as one engages, Oh Krishna, well, do we have to wrap it around like that? Let me just find where we are. Okay. Conditioned souls are under the spell of material energy or eternal time, past, present, and future. But as soon as one engages in Krishna consciousness, he transcends the limits of past and present and becomes situated in the eternal activities of the soul. One has to act in terms of the Vedic injunctions in order to enjoy material life. But those who are taken to the devotional service of the Lord are not afraid of the regulations of this material world. Such devotees do not care for the conventions of material activities. They boldly take to that shelter, which is like an umbrella against the sun of repeated birth and death. Constant transmigration of the soul from one body to another is the cause of suffering in material existence. This conditional life in material existence is called samsara. One may perform good work and take his birth in a very nice material condition, but the process under which birth and death take place is like a terrible fire. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his prayer to the spiritual master, has described this. Samsara, or the repetition of birth and death, is compared to a forest fire. A forest fire takes place automatically, without anyone's endeavor, by the friction of dried wood, and no fire department or sympathetic person can extinguish it. The raging forest fire can be extinguished only when there's a constant downpour of water from a cloud. The cloud is compared to the mercy of the spiritual master. By the grace of the spiritual master, the cloud of the mercy of the personality of Godhead is brought in. And then only when the rains of Krishna consciousness fall, can the fire of material existence be extinguished? This is also explained here. In order to find freedom from the stereotyped conditional life of material existence, one has to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, not in the manner in which the impersonalists indulge, but in devotional service, chanting and hearing of the activities of the Lord. Only then can one be freed from the actions and reactions of material existence. It is recommended here that one should give up the conditional life of this material world and the association of so-called civilized human beings who are simply following in a polished way the same stereotype principles of eating, sleeping, defending and mating. Chanting and hearing of the glories of the Lord is described here as Twad Gunavada Sidhu. Only by drinking the nectar of chanting and hearing the pastimes of the Lord can one forget the intoxication of material existence. Very powerful. Lokams to lokalu gatan pasums cha, hitvashitas te charanata patram, parasparam twad gunavadav sidhu, piyusha niryapata dehadharana. However, persons who have given up stereotyped worldly affairs and the beastly followers of these affairs, and who have taken shelter of the umbrella of your lotus feet by drinking the intoxicating nectar of your qualities and activities in discussions with one another, can be freed from the primary necessities of the material body. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Dede Gauravani Prachayane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyachadi Jatane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyas cha kripa sindhubhya evacha. Paritanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Yes, well, sometimes if you're not really, could say, used to it, it's a possible way of putting it. If you're not really used to the way that Srila Prabhupada sometimes presents things, you may end up thinking that he has really strong opinions, for example, in favor of something which otherwise you have read elsewhere in his writings, he has expressed disfavor. He doesn't really appreciate those things, not at least as much as he appears to have said he appreciates those things. And this is an interesting case here, that in the previous verse and purport, if you were here yesterday, you'd remember Prabhupada really seemed to be emphasizing in a very positive way, yes, you should get married and you should enjoy life. Yes, enjoy material activities. Really, it sounded like that. One should live a life of piety, follow the religious rules and regulations, marry and live peacefully for elevation to the highest status of spiritual realization. Yeah, sounds like. So sounds like he's promoting material existence, more or less. So, I mean, we're not going to go through the whole of yesterday's purport again, but it was really like that. It is everyone's duty, therefore, to enjoy. Enjoy. What have I done now? Where is it? Yes, it is everyone's duty, therefore, to enjoy according to his present position, but under the direction of the Lord or the Vedas. Yes. The Lord gives us the opportunity to enjoy material life as we want. Perhaps you can picture many people saying, "Oh, that's great. I didn't realize that. Wow, I like this Krishna consciousness." Yes, so it sounded like, I mean, it could be taken at least like, he is emphasizing enjoying material life in a way, well, for example, that he's definitely not emphasizing it in the purport we're looking at today. Yeah. After describing the necessity of married life, Kaudama Muni asserts that marriage and other social affairs are stereotyped regulations for persons who are addicted to material sense enjoyment. Oh, I thought he was saying it was good. It was really nice. We should get into it. What's going on here? It's sort of contradictory or saying two things. So, but the thing is that Srila Prabhupada, when he discusses certain subjects, he he often brings out some sort of secondary characteristics, secondary facts about life in the material world under the Vedic rules and regulations. Some things like, particularly yesterday's verse and purport, which are beneficial, or, well, you should really probably say, which may be beneficial for a certain type of person if they're done in a certain very specific way, according to the Vedic rules and regulations, not just sort of, just indulging at length, in this case in ordinary material activities, thinking that they're very good, they're very nice. So actually, and in fact the general sort of mode of presentation of Srila Prabhupada is that these things, well, as he says here, marriage and other social affairs, family affairs, all these different types of family affairs, they're stereotyped regulations. It means they're just very ordinary and just, what would you say? Let me just look up stereotype to get, a more precise idea. Stereotype. meaning that, and okay, the Britannica dictionary says, an often unfair and untrue belief that many people have about all people or things with a particular characteristic. Well, that's one way of putting it. What is the simple meaning of stereotype? A mistaken idea or belief many people have about a thing or group that is based on how they look on the outside, which may be untrue or only partly true. That's, sort of more like what one might expect, stereotype, very ordinary, that people have, but it's not really as valuable as you might think it is. Stereotyping occurs when a person ascribes the collective characteristics associated with a particular group to every member of that group, discounting individual characteristics. Well, anyway, okay. So Prabhupada's saying that these types of activities, all material family activities, marriage, and just everything to do with it, like working and earning money and associating with all the people out there, the ordinary materialistic people, and getting involved in all the materialistic things, like watching the Springboks or watching Bollywood. These are actually stereotype things. They don't have the value. They're very ordinary things that don't really have the value which so many people ascribe to them. Yes, so, and they're just for people. So what was being discussed yesterday was more in the context, although Prabhupada's only bringing it out now, for people who are addicted to material sense enjoyment. And who is that? Kardama Muni. He's got some addiction. He's not like heavily materialistic, like, you're a very ordinary person. But even after meditating on the Lord for 10,000 years, he's concluded, I have to do this. And that's all there is to it. So that means it's an addiction. It's a type of addiction to material sense enjoyment. I need a wife. And if I don't get a wife, it's a real problem. I mean, not just it's a real problem, but I just have to have one. Okay? Lord, my Lord. It's not a question of, let's see, let's think about it, and, is it really, or not like that, no. Conclusion has been reached. I got to have one. There's got to be a suitable one, of the same nature, not a different type of one. Yeah. But she's got to be one. I mean, a member of the opposite sex. Otherwise, there's no otherwise. According to what he's saying, there's no otherwise. It's just, he's got to have it. So therefore, he's approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead Generally, people only approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead if they really feel they really need something, like in a war situation. There's a saying, you never find an atheist in a foxhole. Foxhole means the hole in the ground made by a bomb or some explosive shell on the battlefield. That's a foxhole. And when they're trying to advance towards the opposing party who are over on the other side, they often go from foxhole to foxhole, because these holes are sometimes quite deep, and the people, unless they drop another bomb on you, but they can't shoot you with their sort of regular rifles and those types of weapons. Only if another bomb comes. Otherwise, you're safe in a foxhole. But you know that you're in big trouble, because your superiors do not expect you just to stay in the foxhole until the battle is over. I will stay here. And when you've defeated the opposition, just tell me and I'll come out. That's what Arjuna was saying on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. That you want this battle fought? That's what you want? Go for it. Fight it. And I will take rest back here. And when you've won, just let me know and hurry along, I'll come out. So, yeah. So you don't find an atheist in a foxhole, because, you can't stay in the foxhole. You've got to advance further on, and then you're in danger again. When you become exposed outside the foxhole, you can get shot. And my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, who you can look up in Wikipedia, believe it or not, he's in there. He got not a Victoria Cross, but DSO, Distinguished Service Order award. It's just under Victoria Cross, for leading a charge in the First World War against the bad guys and the in trenches. Yeah. And it's right there, look it up. Norman Duthie, Duthie, and you'll find it. Yes, I think it's Wikipedia, but it's something like that. And even he would show me, that was the First World War, 1914 to 1980, when I was just a young boy, like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Means the mid-50s, a good number, like 40 years later, he would show me how he still had some bullets in his hand that they couldn't get out. He was quite proud of it. So yeah, he came out of the foxhole and killed all the bad guys, but he got shot in the meantime. So you don't find an atheist in the foxhole. It's like, wow, we're in the foxhole. Oh my God. Yeah. They pray. Yes. So generally people only pray, like really pray, when it's kind of, the situation is serious. Otherwise they just go for whatever they want. But he feels, Kardama feels, I've just got to have this, and I've just got to have it. And it's not, what would you say, it's not kind of, what's the word? Anyway, there's no alternative. It's just got to be there. So he's praying to the Lord, right in front of the Lord. But Prabhupada's making the point here that for the devotees, so for these people, like Karadama, I mean, a particular version of that type of person who feels they've got to have some material things, which normally in Krishna consciousness would not be appreciated that much. So he feels like that. But Prabhupada's saying that these principles of animal life, eating, sleeping, mating and defending, they're necessities of the body, is all right. But the devotees give up all these things. That's what Prabhupada's saying. The devotees, those who engage in transcendental Krishna consciousness, giving up all the stereotyped activities of this material world, are freed from social conventions. Even, at least in some, in principle you could say, even for things like married life, and in some cases, actually just disregarding those things, just actually doing away with them, and just diving deeper and deeper into Krishna consciousness, because as Prabhupada points out here, as soon as you engage in Krishna consciousness, you transcend the limitations of time, past, present, future. You transcend them. And rather, you have to act in terms of Vedic injunctions in order to enjoy material life. But those who have taken to devotional service, the devotees, they're not afraid. Prabhupada makes the point, the devotees don't care for the conventions of material activities, and they boldly take shelter of the Lord, which is like an umbrella against the sun of repeated birth and death. Even, many devotee householders, they laugh about how their household is. Yeah, they do. Seriously, they laugh. They laugh seriously. That, oh gosh, I became a householder. Oh well, what to do? Anyway, I'll make the most of it. But not like, yes, I've now got a husband or a wife, and that's just fulfilled what I needed in life, and my life is now just exactly how I want it. No, not like that. Because the devotees don't care for these things, even though sometimes some of them, or even quite a few of them, have to accept some of these things to some degree. But it's not like those who are addicted and who really feel that these things are just wonderful, like they're the goal of life. One of our devotees many years ago, he told me, he was trying to preach to his brother, who was a materialistic person and who was married with a wife and some children. And so he would try and preach to him, but the brother was just like, no, just please don't bother me with this. And the devotee said, but this is the perfection of life. And the brother said, for me, the perfection of life is my wife and children. And the devotee said, well, that's great. You know what we must do? We must start a worldwide preaching program that here we have it. This is the perfection of life. My brother and his wife and children. Which is obviously a bit humorous. But the brother felt like that. This is the perfection of life for me. But for the devotee, even a devotee often, it's not that unusual, devotees who, they really, their idea in life is, I want to become Krishna conscious, that's what I want to do, but I have certain conditioning and habits, and therefore, I need certain things, otherwise it's going to be very difficult for me. So they accept that position of, well, say, a household position, but it's with a completely different attitude, that I'm doing this as a duty, and it's not that this is my goal, and later on, after some time, I will leave it and become a vanaprastha, and I'll try and become a sannyasi before my life, the life of this body, finishes. One devotee was telling us, a couple of years ago actually, that his wife, he's a Prabhupada disciple, and it was like during COVID, so he's probably around 70 years old or thereabouts, and his wife also. He actually wrote on Facebook that a really amazing thing happened to me yesterday. He said, yesterday my wife came up to me and paid me the greatest compliment I think I could be paid. She said, you're actually a very good husband. If I have to take birth again, I wouldn't mind having you as my husband again. And he felt, wow, this is really a compliment from my wife. Because, often the relationship is like, oh, what's he doing? Oh my God. That sort of thing. Anyway, Hare Krishna. But that's the basic message here, that the devotees, of course there are devotees and there are devotees. There are different degrees of devotees. I mean, there's a range of different degrees of devotees. More, less, in this way, that way, but not in some other way. It's an interesting picture. But even for a devotee who feels impelled towards household life, and that he or she, that they need it, otherwise they won't be able to be sort of stable in their position in life. But they're not thinking that this is just so wonderful. It's more like, I had to do it, so I'm doing it. And I'll do it to as well as I can, take it seriously. But I'm not going to think that this is the goal of my life. Yes, so, because Prabhupada makes the point that conditional life is called samsara, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, we sing it every morning in Mangal Arati. If we happen to be in Mangal Arati, then we sing the Gauravastikam, and the first verse, samsara davanala lida loka, that this life in this material world is like a forest fire, and it's just burning. How did it start? Who knows? It just started somehow or other due to circumstances. Yes. And it's such a forest fire. It's such a fire, big fire, that you can't just get out your garden hose and start squirting water at it. You can't even call the fire brigade with their big trucks and, sort of industrial firefighting capabilities. Just won't help. It just won't help. What you need is for a cloud to come and discharge rain. So the cloud, Prabhupada says, is compared to the mercy of the spiritual master, who is carrying the cloud of mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not just that the spiritual master just has his own stock of mercy of his own accord, but it's the Lord's mercy, that he happens to carry it and discharge it on those who need it. Yes, and then when the rains of Krishna consciousness fall, then the fire of material existence can be extinguished. So therefore, in order to become free from the stereotyped situation, at least at some point during our lives, we have to reject the stereotyped situation. At some point, we actually have to reject it. In one's younger days or even middle age, one may not be able to do that, but one should understand sooner or later, if one really wants to go back to Godhead, one is actually going to have to reject the stereotype situation and separate from it and absorb oneself really wholeheartedly in devotional service, beginning with and particularly chanting and hearing about the Lord. You know, I've been teaching Bhakti Vaibhava for a while now, a couple of years. Anyway, something like that maybe. Anyway, for a while, definitely. And, you know, systematically going through all the verses and all the purports. And Prabhupada's preaching in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's become quite clear in certain important regards. For example, that how much Prabhupada stresses you must engage in devotional service, but beginning with hearing and chanting. Not just you must engage in devotional service and just engage in devotional service and just do devotional service, but you must engage in devotional service beginning with hearing and chanting. Prabhupada repeatedly emphasizes this, the hearing and chanting aspect. Yeah. So therefore it's recommended that one should give up that conditional life and give up the association of people who are really absorbed in household life and everything that goes with it. One must give it up. Eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, and chanting and hearing of the glories of the Lord is described here as Twad Gunavada Sidhu, that which means only by drinking the nectar of chanting and hearing the pastimes of the Lord can one forget the intoxication of material existence. So it's a real contrast to the purport from yesterday. And the verse is a real contrast with the verse we looked at yesterday, which all appeared to be practically promoting and recommending, like, come on, get into it. A materialistic way of life. Even we read in Bhagavad Gita, in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, we read how when Srila Vyasadeva was feeling frustrated, he thought completed his compilation of Vedic knowledge, which means of all knowledge, and come to the point of perfecting the understanding of what to do, and now being able to do the perfectional activities. But he was feeling frustrated that it doesn't seem like that, actually. So Narada Muni came and preached to him, and Narada Muni chastised him. I mean, he really chastised him, actually, that you've done a wrong thing because you have painted a picture of material life with very flowery language and making it really sound like, yes, this is the life, this is the way to do it, and it's wonderful. So you've actually, in the name of helping people to advance towards the ultimate goal of life, in a certain sense, you have really contributed to entangling them further in material existence. So you've got to undo that. You've got to straighten things out, to straighten the people out. Otherwise, in the name of going back to Godhead and helping people to go back to Godhead, you'll just be entangling them further in material existence. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any comment or question or comments, questions, thoughts? Yes, Prabhu.
Seeing in the translation of the verse, Srila Prabhupada uses the word for those who are like
Who are following the stereotyped way.
they and beastly followers of these faiths. So
Beastly.
So
That's really heavy.
So I was just thinking, do people become beastly or fall in that category if they like devoid of spiritual life or realization?
Sooner or later, yes. Sooner or later, they will. Yeah. You know, the way Prabhupada presented it yesterday was he's trying to encourage people like Karadama who feel, and it may actually be true, that they have to accept a certain amount of materialistic life. Yeah. But to encourage them that, you know, it doesn't mean you're now disqualified or now you can't progress. You can progress. So therefore Prabhupada here and there in the purport, Prabhupada says, for example, it is everyone's duty, therefore, to enjoy according to his present position, but under the direction of the Lord or the Vedas. I mean, he doesn't really emphasize it too much, but he says it. So he's encouraging people like Karadama who needs encouragement. Because Karadama is not ready just to surrender, just to give up all dharma and just surrender to Krishna. Sarva dharma parityaja. Give up all materialistic dharma. He's just not ready, just not able. And after all these years, he's understood it and is convinced that I am not ready. So, to encourage him and people like him, then the type of picture painted in the purport yesterday And the verse yesterday, these instructions are encouraging them that it's not so bad. But, particularly if you don't do it, that way of life, according to the Vedic injunctions, then you'll definitely end up in a beastly position. And there's even a danger if you do it according to the Vedic injunctions, that you may fall down. So you've got to be careful. Prabhupada makes the point elsewhere that there can even be accidents on the royal roads. Royal roads means back in the old days, particularly in Europe and maybe particularly in England, there were two systems of roads. There was one system for the ordinary people like you and me, if we want to go from one town to another. But then there was a royal road between that town and the other town, which was only used by the royalty. And it was like, sure, it was just really nice. Like, beautiful avenue, completely flat, for like luxury driving. And the road for the common people was just full of potholes and, all that sort of thing. But Prabhupada makes the point, there can be accidents on the royal road also. Something can go wrong. So it's a warning that if you take the royal road, or what's described yesterday, it's kind of like the royal road according to the Vedic literatures, and getting your enjoyment like that. But watch out, because it's not just guaranteed that you're going to make progress and perfect your life. It's not guaranteed. You may also end up becoming beastly. Is that okay? Sorry, I think I interrupted you actually.
No, that's what I was asking. And I just wanted to ask also, like added on to that, like the Rama Muni, he was meditating for 10,000 years, and like now he's, like do something, some activity to get married and so it is like, is that better for him? It's just like doing, it seems like it's better in some cases to engage in devotional service, do some activity and that's more purifying than if you were just more like meditating or just being in a...
Or trying to be very strict,
yeah.
Like that, very renounced, and not get involved in this case, household life, which is sort of the usual thing. Yeah, then that position will be better for them and help them more than if they like artificially try to accept a more renounced position than they're capable of. Because if a person tries to accept a more renounced position than they're capable of, their mind will just be sort of pursuing them all the time and suggesting, and come on, you can do it, you can enjoy by becoming a householder. And even still, some devotees will still continue trying to fight against it, but they will not be able to advance as they would be able to if they just in Krishna consciousness accepted that, like say household life particularly, in Krishna consciousness. You know, Prabhupada talks about this in the 8th canto, the story of Gajendra. You know, you must know that story. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.